Joining us now is our friend Frank Gaffney for the Center for Security Policy. Frank, how are you, sir?
Well, I'm well under the circumstances. Thank you, and you.
Well, I've just talked to three people who, one was almost at the finish line, but he got deterred. Bill Rogers, who won it 4 times, his daughter was at the finish line but left right before the bombing. And Lee Sweell of Fox News, whose son is a college student, was going to be at the finish line, but because he had too much studying to do, it didn't go. So, I mean, it's so fragile, life as we know it. But what's your take on this? I think we could all agree that this was a planned attack, since government is confirming that at least a third, if not a fourth device has already been found. What's your take on looking at the MO here?
Well, there's no question it was a planned attack. The question is who planned it and to what end. It seems pretty obvious that they were hoping to inflict mass casualties. And I guess we're very lucky that a great many more were not killed or maimed than seems to have been the case, especially if there wind up being more of these devices discovered and disarmed before they can do harm. That's all a blessing. As to who did this, I simply don't have enough information to go on, other than to say that they obviously are hostile to the United States and its people, and perhaps to others as well, given the international flavor of the Boston Marathon.
Yeah, over 50 countries represented, Frank, and New York City, Washington, Los Angeles, San Francisco. They've all tightened security as a result, which, of course, under the circumstances, is the smart thing and the natural thing to do.
Well, of course, and in these cases, it's always locking the barn door after the horse is gone in the immediate sitting. But yeah, I think an awful lot of other people are going to be taking precautionary steps when they've got public spaces that are full of people. And to be honest with you, that's something we should be doing as a matter of course. I think we've become rather complacent about the fact that we are at war, and whether the people who perpetrated this are among those who are warring against us or copycats or motivated by some other pathology, I don't know. But I think that the society is vulnerable, and it's wise to be more alert to these kinds of threats in the future.
We're getting a report from CNN that the federal agencies are saying that they have found several other devices, Frank, around the Boston area, and they're working to disable them, that they appear to be small devices. Small devices would tend, and I haven't speculated on anything yet, but now that we're sure it is an attack, small devices might seem to rule out, although you correct me if I'm wrong or possibly wrong, an Al-Qaeda type foreign terrorist attack, or not necessarily?
Well, it's not sort of the standard MO, but when you look at the so-called improvised explosive devices elsewhere around the world, many of them do a lot more maiming than killing, and so you can't rule it out, but you can't rule it in either, based on what we know at this point.
And again, as you well know, and as I well know, and as some are afraid to admit, no matter who did this, the war on terror, no matter who the terrorists are, whether they come from here, whether they're a small group, a large group, or whether they came from overseas and are a small group or a large group, we're not done by a long shot, and probably won't be. And as long as we pretend there is none, and we take it out of the lexicon and refuse to call things what they are, we're just going to encourage more of these things.
I fear you're right, and I think we've been doing that at the senior-most levels of our government for a long time now. And again, it takes these kinds of episodes perhaps to shake us from the complacency on the one hand and the willful blindness on the other, and to the extent that that's a small silver lining in an otherwise dark cloud, I guess we can be grateful for that at least.
Yes, and knowingly or unknowingly giving a plug to the great book by Andy McCarthy, Willful Blindness. Frank Gaffney, the head of the Center for Security Policy, thank you so much, sir. We'll speak to you again soon. Good talking to you, Frank.
Thank you, sir.